What's up, guys? My name is SnyperSama, but you can call me Sniper. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I just want to preface it with thank you for all the get well wishes. Thank you for all the support over the beginning of 2026. I haven't really gotten to talk about it because it's just kind of been one thing after another. My car went in the shop. I had a little ER visit. I got super sick, as you guys saw last week. And it's been a doozy of a start to the year. So I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate all of you, and I look forward to what 2026 has to come for both you and for me. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's build. Today's build is all about fire. The fire element itself is making a return, at least in my opinion. And that's because the three fights that I can think of that I am actively participating in right now when I play Monster Hunter Wilds are Omega, Gogmazios, and Arch-Tempered Jindahad. And the reason for that is they're the three newest monsters. I'm fully aware Jindahad is not a new monster, but his Arch-Tempered variant is, meaning it's new. Okay. What I mean by this, though, is that fire is used in all of them. Fire is used in the Nursilla check, in the Omega fight, as well as it's usable against Omega if you really wanted to. Arch-Tempered Jindahad's main weakness is fire. And then on top of that, Gogmazios, his entire first and second phase, most of the time you're using fire weapons, meaning it felt right to make a new updated Lance build all around Scorcher and the fire element attached to it. Now, what we have today is an Aether Pike. Aether Pike is the Gogma Ardian Rarity 8 weapon, and it is kind of god rolly RNG based, but not as bad as a couple of other builds of mine. This is not one of those god roll RNG builds. This is just a good build that relies on fire element stacking, and you can do a crap ton of damage because you actually end up getting a lot of raw attack as well. So let's go ahead and touch base with our weapon. Our weapon has one of the most important parts of this entire build: Scorcher, Rathalos' Flare. Now, you might be asking, what in the world is Rathalos' Flare? Well, Scorcher is kind of like White Flame Torrent. If you remember White Flame Torrent, you know that it activates on a 3-second continuous basis. If you don't activate that 3 seconds, within that first 3 seconds of hitting, you will end up having to wait the remainder of the 3-second timer, and then you're into the 6-second bracket between 4 and 6. If you don't hit it there, then once you get to the 7 to 9-second bracket, it guarantees procs. Scorcher works the exact same way. But the thing about Scorcher is that it's just fire damage. White Flame Torrent was specifically doing it for dragon damage, and when Zoshia came out with White Flame Torrent, we were able to stack Scorcher with that. But unfortunately, Scorcher itself just wasn't good. It was elevated because of White Flame Torrent. But as of Title Update 4, Scorcher itself has been buffed to work the exact same way as White Flame Torrent, meaning you are going to be able to do additional fire damage. Kind of think of it in the aspect of White Flame Torrent or Blast status, but fire. Now, the thing about it is that itself is very good. The reason we chose Lance for this build is because Lance does not need a lot of extra stuff. Guard up is good, offensive guard is one of those requirements, but other than that, that's it. So when you're going for a ton of extra damage, all you need to do is stack attack, critical boost, or whatever element it is, and offensive guard. If I were to do something like this on Switch Axe, I would need Power Prolonger. If I was to do this on Charge Blade, I would need Artillery or Load Shells, so on and so forth. Insect Glaive, Airborne, Bow, Stamina Management. Like, there's so many different skills, and Lance didn't need any of them. Not to mention, there's a couple of you in my comments that were like, dude, where's the Lance build? Here you go. Because this build also works with any other element, minus the fact that Scorcher is going to do fire damage. So I highly recommend you do fire. So Scorcher is a requirement on your weapon. I actually got very lucky and mine ruled with Lord Soul, which is why it's going like this, but it is not a requirement. It is just going to increase your damage even more. Like I said, this is a partial god roll RNG build, but it is not the big ones that you normally expect, okay? As far as reinforcements and our production bonus, we want to go attack focused. I know that we are leaning into the fire element, but because we have fire attack, Scorcher is going to do increased damage thanks to the fire attack bonus, meaning we don't need to focus on it. What I will say is my role here is not the best for reinforcement bonus. I would still opt for 3 attack, 1 affinity, 1 sharpness, but seeing as that we are leaning so far into doing additional damage with Scorcher and the additional fire, more element isn't actually a bad thing, okay? So, clear my throat a little bit because we're still getting over that stupid cough. We're getting there though, okay? As far as our armor goes, our armor actually only requires 1 crazy piece, and that is a Transcended Guardian Rathalos Helmet Beta. The reason for this is because it initially has 2 level 2 decoration slots. When you transcend it, you get to make them 2 level 3 slots, which is super, super valuable. We have 2 pieces of Dahad. Now, the reason we are using Arch-Tempered Jin Dahad is because of Binding Counter. Lance is one of those weapons where you are going to be guarding everything. In fact, you're not hopping 90% of the time. You are guarding. That is how Lance works. That's why it's as effective as it is when it comes to tanking, okay? The way Binding Counter works is that you are going to get a plus 25 to your attack at Binding Counter level 1, which is what we have, every time you recover from Web Status, Frostbite, Pin, or a Power Clash. This goes back to what I was saying about guarding. When you are playing Lance, you are trying to guard everything. Meaning, the odds of you getting the Power Clash if you're playing with other people, or if you're playing by yourself, are very, 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 very high. Meaning, you will just get a flat 25 raw increase when that happens. There are alternatives to this. However, for me at least, and the way I play Lance, the way I learned how to play Lance, is you guard everything. You've got the biggest shield for a reason. Use it. Last but not least, we have 2 pieces of Gore. We have the Gore Coil Beta, Gore Greaves Beta. The reason we're using these is because we are going for Scorcher on our weapon, or else we would be mixing up the set a little bit more. And last but not least is the other RNG part. However, I will preface this with, you don't need it as crazy as I have it, okay? As far as our decorations go, we have a protection jewel in here and we have a growth jewel in here. Neither of them are actually needed because you can drop both of these, drop the jumping jewel, and put your other protection jewel right here. The only thing that is helping me in this case is the fact that the Golden Age charm is the one that I have with the attack boost and the antivirus. But if you are using your Gore Greaves, you're pretty much just going to want to put in Sane Jewels right here like this. And then your setup will look like this. You won't have any Divine Protection, but that's not a big deal. It doesn't really affect anything. Overall, depending on how lucky you are, if you have the attack jewel or attack decoration talisman like I have, this is what you would end up setting it as, okay? Or if you don't have it, this is what you would set it as. If you do have it, maybe you do have a level 3 attack with everything else going on, great. If not, you can still make it work, okay? As far as decorations on our armor and weapons go, we have 1 Challenger, we have 2 Challenger, we have 3 Challenger. This is going to give us Agitator. Agitator is super, super important because we are going for more raw damage, okay? We are not leaning into all of the affinity bonuses because we do have the ability to get high affinity. We can have very high affinity, but because we are focusing on Scorcher stacks, fire element damage, and raw attack, it ended up taking a back seat in this build. Not to mention, because of all of that, we have Guardian and Handicraft here, and then we have the Blaze Handicraft here and a Shield Handicraft. This is going to give us Guard up so we can do all of the unblockable attacks. Guardian, which is going to give us the plus 15% when we hit the perfect guard. And then Blaze, which is just going to give us more fire element itself. Not to mention the rest of our armor with the Tenderizer, 3 Mighty Jewels, 1 Jumping Jewel for 1 level of Evade Extender, and then the Sane Jewels if you are not as lucky as I. Okay? Overall, this build gives us 274 raw attack with a food buff, 20% affinity, 528 element. But the thing is we haven't even touched the surface of what can be done. So we'll turn off wounds, we'll put it in smash mode, we'll turn on agitator, coalescence, self-improvement is there, but I'm going to leave it off because if you don't have the god rolls that I do, you are not going to be able to use that. We'll do the agitator or the revolt, and we will do antivirus. Now, you can see with all of those things active right after a power clash, we have 320 raw attack, 35% affinity, and 600 element. What's crazy about that is that 35% affinity is actually even higher because weakness exploit is active. Weakness exploit is active, putting us at a 50% natural when the monster is enraged. Include the fact that we have maximum might going, we have the agitator, we never have to worry about having negative affinity. Include all of this together and offensive guard, and we have 373 raw attack. Okay, you are able to pump out damage like crazy. And you will see here, we'll just keep hitting. Eventually, we'll see a Scorcher stack proc. Right there, 46.6 damage. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have a monster that has, we'll say, 35,000 health, because I believe Lagiacrus is somewhere around that ballpark. 35,000 health. If you're doing an additional 50 damage every 9 seconds and it takes you 10 minutes to hunt, that means in just a minute, you'll be doing, 50, we'll call it 10 seconds. You'll be doing an extra 300 damage just stacking up. And that's only if they're not weak to the fire element. If they are weak to the fire element, you're just going to keep pumping it out. You can see here, we have 360, 60% affinity, 598 element, and we're able to do everything we need to. Not to mention, you're a wall. Nothing is getting through. This build is crazy, and at least for me, it's been a lot of fun. I've been helping a lot of people in my Discord with fighting new monsters and getting them through some of the harder content. And this has been one of my favorite builds to mess with, like I said, because fire is so prevalent with some of these newer monsters. Overall, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's Lance build. Thank you all for coming and watching, and thank you all for hanging out. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Farewell.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show